Hello YouTube viewer, and welcome back to my suffering. With solo challenges being everywhere right now, I figured it's time for me to take a different route. While Pokemon solo runs are probably the most popular Pokemon challenges out there right now, there's a couple of less common but just as fun challenges out there you can try as well. Off the top of my head, I can think of the No Pokeball challenge, which is pretty self-explanatory. You can't use Pokeballs at all, limiting the amount of Pokemon you actually use in your playthrough, and the No Poke Center challenge, which pretty much bans all kinds of free healing. No Pokemon centers, no rest stops, no beds. Anytime you get a free heal that's not given to you in-game, it is banned. And if you wipe out, you either have to reload the game from your last save file, otherwise it is considered a failure. If you want to learn more, check out my Poke Center list run of Pokemon Yellow. Getting to the point of today's video, I figured it'd be equal parts fun and hair-pulling frustrating to go all Dragon Ball Z and fuse the two challenges. As for the game, let's go with Pokemon Crystal. Without further ado, let's see if I can beat Pokemon Crystal without catching any Pokemon or heal at any Poke Centers. Or any free healing at all for that matter, you get the point. Anyway, this intro is already longer than I thought it'd be, so here are some additional rules I'll be following. Feel free to pause if needed. You good? Perfect. Here we go. The first thing I gotta do is pick my starter. I decided to go with Cyndaquil. I could have really handicapped myself from going with Chikorita, but I feel like this challenge is gonna be hard enough as it is. Plus my choices for a fire Pokemon are kinda limited. And grass sucks. The game gives you a free heal once you talk to Mr. Pokemon Professor Oak. So I'm going to take full advantage of that by grinding as much as possible. I waste all my money on getting as many potions as I can afford, then I go to the route above and waste all my useless status inflicting moves on a Hoppip, who are this generation's Kakuna. With all the useless moves drained, I can attack Pokemon with Tackle until that runs dry, which then I can resort to using Struggle. After a couple of hours of struggling and force feeding my Cyndaquil, whom I've named Paige, potions, it learned Ember, giving it a much needed break from struggling. It's enough to get Paige to level 14, which then she evolves into Quilava. I run out of potions soon after, just shy of level 16. Talk to Mr. Pokemon, get the Pokédex from Professor Oak, and the mystery egg from Mr. Pokemon, who gives us our first free heal. Professor M calls me to get back to the lab ASAP, but I have more important things to do. More grinding. It won't be quite as long as the first round, as I'm broke and out of potions, but it's enough to raise my level to 18. I then face my rival for the first time. And this is probably the first time I've done this battle with a stage 2 Pokemon. And to absolutely no one's surprise, I take my rival out in one shot. After which I get my second free heal. Thank you, good sir. When the police ask me for the young man's name, I fittingly call him White Mage. With the egg in Elm's hands for the next little bit, I beeline for Violet City and immediately challenge Falkner. As you can see, there's a pretty steep level gap in my favor, something I'm sure won't last for very long. I take out his Pidgey after 2 tackles. His Pidgeotto just barely lives in Ember. He counters with Gust, which doesn't do much, unsurprisingly. I am able to finish it off with Tackle and obtain the Zypher badge. I grab the egg I just gave to Elm and climb Bellsprout Tower to get the HM for Flash, and to raise my level a little bit. After that, it's off to Azalea Town. But before I can challenge Bugsy, I need to help Kurt stop Team Rocket from cutting off the tails from Slowpoke. And my reward? Another free heal! I know I'm getting a lot of these right now, but this is the last free heal I'm going to be getting for a while. With Team Rocket out of the picture, I challenge Bugsy for my second badge. As you can imagine, this one is also pretty easy. I have the type advantage for one, and my level is still pretty high compared to my opponents. I use Quick Attack on Metapod, who goes down after 3 attacks. He sends out Cypher, who just barely lives in Ember. It goes down on my next attack. To save PP, I decided to just use Quick Attack on Kakuna, but I completely forgot that it knows Poison Sting, and of course, it poisons me. I still win with most of my HP intact, but it still sucks that that happened. Thankfully, I did have a Poison Cure Berry in my bag, so all my worries fade away. Before I can finally leave Azalea, I need to get past my rival. His Ghastly just barely lives a mud slap. It tries to come back with Hypnosis, but thankfully, for me, it's not the most accurate move and misses. I finish it off, and out comes Croconaw. I attack with Quick Attack, which does less damage than I would have liked. It fires back with Water Gun, which did less damage than I expected. I keep on pushing on with Quick Attack, and 2 turns later, I knock it out. I finish off his Zubat with no problems at all and move on. I get the Farfetch back to the kid, and they thank me with the HM for Cut and Charcoal, a held item that increases the strength of fire-type attacks. I immediately give it to Paige. I get through Helix Forest, where the egg Elm gave me hatches. I name the Togepi Benedict, and yes, I know, I did misspell it, but he won't be around for very long. I grab the bike from Goldenrod City, and the odd egg from the old couple. I bike around Goldenrod while I wait for the egg to hatch. Out from the egg is an Elekid, which I named Watina. Then I grab the spear from the security guard, named Kenya, with the promise to deliver the letter to his friend on Route 31, which we'll get around to. Eventually. Maybe. The last thing I do is grab the coin case, buy some coins at the game corner, and exchange them for an Abra I named Trado, and a Cubone I named Mary. Why is the Abra named Trado, you ask? Well, because I head to the mall and immediately trade in for a Machop named Muscle. I put Benedict in the PC because, honestly, I don't plan on using it. I'm still not completely confident that I could beat Whitney right now, so I do a bit of training to bulk up muscle a bit, something I wish I could be doing right now. I miss the gym. I grab the Quick Claw from the teachers thing at National Park, equip it to muscle, and head back to Goldenrod for my showdown with Whitney. I first set up with Focus Energy, all the while praying that Metronome doesn't give Clefairy something OP. It gets Triple Kick, which doesn't do much. I attack back with Karate Chop, and it just hangs on. A running theme in this playthrough. I finish off Clefairy with Seismic Toss. Out next is her infamous Miltank, and it gets on rolling with Rollout. Oops. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it will start to add up. With Low Kick disappointing me, I try Karate Chop, and yet again, Whitney's Pokemon barely hangs on. I am just able to tank a third rollout, and I'm able to finish off Miltank with a Seismic Toss. With that, I obtain the playing badge, once she finishes up crying tears of unfathomable sadness. It's okay, take your time. After that, we head to Ecruteak, walk into the Pokemon Center, and talk to Bill. We follow him home, and to make me go away, he gives me an Eevee, who I name Subarashi, because I expect great things from it. I run through Mount Mortar to battle this fisherman. After an intense battle, I get his digits. Now we just wait for the call. While I wait, I head to the Burt Tower where I again run to my rival. Mary takes out Haunter, but it was sadly cursed in the process. White Mage sends out Croconaw, and I needed a clean switch. None of my Pokemon would be able to take a hit, so I sack Kenya so I could send out Paige. It plays out much like it did last time. This time, 3 Flame Reels are able to take out Croconaw, thanks to a crit on the first one. Paige then easily takes care of the rest of my rival's team. Now it's on to Morty. I was planning on using Mary, but she isn't very fast, and I knew Morty's team knew Curse, and his team would be faster. I decided to go in with Paige. This seems to be the right choice, but here my PP is dangerously low. 1 Fling Wheel takes out Ghastly. Haunter goes down in 2 hits, much like his Gengar. I'm glad I decided to use Mean Look instead of Shadow Ball. His last Haunter goes down after 2 attacks, but he used Spite to wipe out the last of Paige's PP, forcing me to finish it off with struggle. A little while later, that fisherman calls me saying that he found something I may like, and it's a Water Stone, which is exactly what I needed. I evolved Subarashi into Vaporeon. Now, I could go right for Mahogany for my final free heal, or better yet, I could do a bit of grinding to train out the rest of my team. I have the money to do it, I just gotta be careful not to waste it all. Looks like I may have been a little overconfident when it came to facing the red Gyarados. It managed to wipe out 5 of my Pokemon, with Paige barely able to take it out by the skin of her teeth. After battling a few Rocket Grunts, I talk to Lance and he gives me a last free heal from the main game. I only battle the Rocket Grunts I have to and defeat their executive Rocket. And with that, Team Rocket is out of the picture. For now. time to get those last 4 badges. First, I go after Chuck. While en route to Cianwood, both Muscle and Kenya evolve to Machoke and Fearow respectively. With Fearow's best stab move being Peck, I decide to see how Muscle would fare against Chuck. I set with Focus Energy and get to work. His Primate goes down 2 attacks thanks to a crit from Karate Chop. Poliwrath keeps spamming Dynamic Miss, Punch, but he couldn't find his mark. Thanks to Quick Claw activating for Poliwrath to go for punch number 4, I take it out with Seismic Toss, grabbing my 5th badge. Before heading back to Olivine, I grab the HM for Fly and teach it to Kenya. Then I grab the Secret Medicine to heal Ampharos at the lighthouse. With her worries settled, she heads back to the gym and I immediately challenge her. This one was a walk in the park. I send out Paige, who destroys her entire team with one-hit Embers and Flame Wheels. I decide that before I head back to Mahogany Town, that I make a quick pit stop at Goldenrod's department store to buy the TNs for Thunder Punch, which I teach Paige, and Ice Punch, who I teach to Watina. Once I stocked up on potions, I head to Mahogany to face Price. I lead with Watina, who takes out Price's seal in one hit thanks to a crit. Price then sends out Piloswine. I knew it didn't know any ground type attacks, so I switch in Subarashi, who eats a blizzard and tanks it pretty darn well. I get Subarashi to use Surf, and thanks to Price using Hyper Potions, it takes 3 hits to take it out. Finally, Price sends out his last Pokemon, Dewgong. I decide to switch in Muscle for this matchup. It takes a headbutt upon switch in. Then we retaliate with Karate Chop. We get one more hit in before Dewgong decides to take a nap. Bad idea. Luckily enough, right after it rests off its health, Muscle is able to finish off with one shot after a crit from Karate Chop. Our second of the bout, obtaining our 7th badge. Before I can go after badge number 8, I have a radio tower to save. Not much of a challenge here. I use this portion of the game to level up some of my weaker party members, where Watina evolved to Electabuzz. The next major battle is against my rival, which again, Paige sweeps his entire team. It wasn't all smooth sailings though. My rival's Golbat confused Paige, but in the end, Paige was just barely able to hang in there. Not long after that bout, Mary evolved to Marowak. After blasting through Team Rocket, it's off to Blackthorn City for my 8th badge. The only thing standing in my way is Claire. With Ice Punch and the Never Melt Ice I found in Ice Cave, I figured Watina would be my best choice. She does manage to take out 3 of her Dragonairs with 2 Ice Punches each. Sadly, she was paralyzed in the process, allowing Kingdra to finish her off with Surf. Okay, lost 1. Not a big deal. I can buy revives, I thought to myself as she one-shots Kenya, Muscle, Subarashi, and Mary, leaving just Paige. Paige just tanks the Surf, and I was gonna win until she does the most beta move in all of Pokemon and pops a Hyper Potion. Paige gets another Thunder Punch off, paralyzing it, but Kingdra gets past it and finishes Paige off. Seeing as the wife sends me to the nearest Pokemon Center for a free heal, I have no choice but to reset to my last save. And just to reiterate, free heals that you get in-game that you can't avoid during your journey is okay, but free heals you have to go all your way for are not, and a wipe counts as that. So I have no choice but to reload to my old save file. And of course, my last save file was at Mahogany Town, so I have to do a couple of things over again. Give me time to think of a new strategy. After my redo and a small grinding session, something I was hoping to avoid, I'm ready for round 2. This time, despite my level being higher, I got an unlucky paralysis, and Watina was only able to take out 2 of Claire's Dragonairs, but she did manage to get the 3rd into KO range, giving Muscle the opening she needs to finish it off. Now I just need to take out Kingdra for the win. Kingdra uses its first 2 turns to lower my accuracy, while I soften up with Karate Chop. I thought maybe a Vital Throw would finish it off. Kingdra hits hard with Surf, but Vital Throw doesn't quite get the job done. I knew Claire would use this turn to heal, so I take this chance to switch in Paige. I knew I'd have the type disadvantage, but I had Thunder Punch, so even if Paige gets knocked out, I was hoping I'd get the paralysis in the process. I was lucky as Kingdra goes for Smokescreen, allowing me to get a free attack in. I get 2 Thunder Punches off before Kingdra eventually takes Paige out. I send out Subarashi, expecting to attack with Hyper Beam, thinking I get a couple of shots in to take it out, but it goes for Smokescreen instead, and this time, it lands. On Claire's next turn, she goes for Hyper Beam, and Subarashi barely hangs on. And what do you know? Kingdra gets a special defense drop after getting hit with Shadow Ball. I thought this would be a good time to go for Waterfall. I am an idiot and it does jack all. I try for a quick attack my next turn, but it misses, taking me out with one more Hyper Beam. Subarashi's sacrifice will not be in vain, as I use Claire's recharge turn to take out Kingdra with a good old Karate Chop, and after a quick stop at the Dragon's Den, I obtain badge number 8. Before heading out to the Elite Four, I travel across Johto, picking up every ether and elixir I can find, even the hidden ones. Once I'm all stocked up, it's time to head up to the Indigo Plateau. But before I can head in, my rival wants to go another round. Again, I send in Paige, and she totally dominates my rival's entire team. I'm talking a straight up massacre. He didn't stand a chance. Yeah, his Feraligatr gets a couple of water guns in, and his Golbat tries to do something, but in the end, it was a pitiful attempt. Of course, before heading off to fulfill my destiny, I heal up my team and restore some of their PP, except for Kenya. Honestly, I don't see much use for Kenya at this point. Now it's time to get to work. Leading off the Elite Four is Will. I send out Watina. She has the moveset to hit his entire team for super effective damage. Watina takes out his first Xatu easily. Then Will sends out Jinx. Thief doesn't do as much damage as I hoped it would. Jinx then puts me to sleep with Lovely Kiss. And no, I am not having a lovely time. I decide to switch out Watina for Paige, who takes out Jinx in record time. Slowbro is out next, and if anyone's going to take out Paige, this would be the one. I attack with Thunder Punch as he wastes a turn setting up Amnesia, giving me the chance to finish it off. Crisis averted. Paige then opens up a can of organic, grass-fed, no GMO whoop-ass on the rest of Will's team. Now it's Koga's turn. Paige easily takes out Ariados in Fortress. Muck comes out, uses Minimize, and lands a Toxic. I knew there was a good chance Paige was going to go down, and I didn't feel like I had a clean switch. So, I got Paige to use Mudslap to lower Muck's accuracy as much as possible before going down to Poison. I send out Mary and pray that Earthquake doesn't miss. It doesn't, and down goes Muck. Mary also manages to take out Venomoth, but was sadly poisoned in the process. Last out is Crobat. I knew Mary would go down here, but I had Mary soften up Crobat as much as possible before fainting. Watina comes out to finish the job. Is what was supposed to happen, but Crobat hangs on Koga's next turn, he heals off Crobat. I was starting to sweat a bit here, as Crobat managed to poison me, and the double teams were starting to add up. Watina manages to pull through it all and finish it off. 2 down, 2 to go. Thankfully, I still have some revives, so Paige and Mary are back in the fight. Next up is Bruno. For this battle, I put on my dunce hat because I made a lot of stupid choices. I'm starting to regret not restoring Kenya's PP. I decide to leave a muscle as Bruno leads with Hitmontop. All it does is spam dig, and I pray that the Quick Claw game muscle doesn't activate while it's underground. Thankfully it doesn't, and Hitmontop goes down in 3 attacks. Next out is Hitmonlee. Muscle lands a crit Karate Chop, nearly taking it down to the red. Hitmonlee lands a high jump kick and takes out Muscle. I decide for some reason, seriously, don't ask why, to send out Kenya. It barely lives a struggle and uses Swagger, the best possible outcome, if I don't hit myself. Luck wasn't on my side as I hurt myself 2 times in a row, taking myself out. I send out Subarashi to finish it off. Bruno then sends out Hitmonchan. Predicting a Thunder Punch, I swap in Watina, and it did not use Thunder Punch. It used Mach Punch, which crit. Watina tanks a second Mach Punch with just 3 HP, and gets in a Thunder Punch before going down to a third Mach Punch. I play the safe card and send out Paige, who does manage to take Hitmonchan out. Up next is Onyx, and I switch back in Subarashi. Onyx goes for Sandstorm I switch in, and hits hard with Earthquake. We do manage to take it and take it on one shot with Surf. Finally is Machamp, and with Sandstorm still raging, I figured Mary would be my best bet. It was a crazy back and forth between the two, but thanks to some lucky misses from Machamp's Cross Chop and a couple of crips from Mary's Earthquake, we just managed to take it out. Once I heal up my casualties, we take on the final Elite Four member, Karen. Muscle takes out Umbreon with no problems. I switch in Paige, who takes out Vileplume, Gengar, and Murkrow. We're getting through her team fairly easily, But my momentum is brought to a sudden halt when her Houndoom lands a crit crunch on Paige, taking her out. I send in Subarashi to avenge his fallen teammate. He lives a crunch and then takes out Houndoom with Surf. With the elite behind us, I use the last of my healing items to get my team as healthy as possible, and my last elixir on Paige since I used the last for PP against Karen. Now it's time for our last challenge. Lance. With Watina having the best moveset to hit all of Lance's Pokemon super effectively, I lead with her as Lance leads with Gyarados. One Thunder Punch takes it out. Lance then sends out his first Dragonite, and Watina takes out with a crit Ice Punch. Lance sends out his second Dragonite, and Deja vu! I've just been in this place before! I land another crit Ice Punch. 2 Dragonites down, 1 more to go. This Ice Punch doesn't crit, and Lance's strongest Dragonite is still standing. It takes out Watina in one shot with Hyper Beam. Since it has to recharge, I send out Subarashi, who takes it out with Icy Wind. To my surprise, Lance sends out Charizard. I nearly have a heart attack when Charizard lands a crit wing attack. Man, there have been a lot of crits in this battle. Thankfully, Subarashi lives it, but sadly, Charizard also lives my attack. Charizard goes for Hyper Beam, even though I'm sure a wing attack would have taken me out, and it misses, giving us the opening to take it out. Last up is Aerodactyl, who quickly finishes off Subarashi. But I am proud of what he accomplished. If any of my remaining Pokemon are going to take it out, it's gotta be Paige. Thankfully, we're faster, and we land a Thunder Punch, doing heavy damage. Lance counters with Rock Slide, cheater, which takes Paige down to about half health, sealing Lance's fate, as with one more Thunderous Punch, we are officially the new Pokemon League champions, and thus we have conquered the Johto region without catching any Pokemon or healing at any Poké Centers. You know what I find funny though? This comment made by Oak.
Good. You understand how to use Pokeballs.
If he only knew. I could put the Game Boy down now and call this challenge a success, but I'm sure I never hear the end of it in the comments, if I don't at least attempt to complete the Kanto side of the game as well. Alright, here we go. I'm not going to go over every gym battle in Kanto. These gym leaders, with the exception of one, are all weaker than Lance, and in Janine's case, even weaker than Claire. While I'm tearing the Kanto gym leaders a new one, I head to Celadon to grab the leftovers, and then after getting the Kanto radio card, face the Snorlax laying down by Diglett Cave and steal its leftovers. In between gym battles, I travel across the land searching far and wide for every elixir and ether I can find. While most of the gym leaders aren't worth talking about, I will talk about my bout with Blue as he did make me a little nervous. Watina easily takes out Blue's Pidgeot. When he sends out Rhydon, I switch in Kenya for a safe switch. Kenya is able to use Mirror Move and Earthquake before going down to Rock Slide. Subarashi finishes off Rhydon with Surf. Out next is Exeggutor, and I switch in Paige. I knew it was going to use Solar Beam, so I used the charging turn to switch in Paige. I go for Flame Wheel, and it sadly lives it. Thankfully, Solar Beam doesn't do too much damage. Blue wastes his next couple of turns trying to heal up Exeggutor, but it's all in vain. As soon as he runs out, I am able to finish it off. Gyarados is out next, and I switch in Mary as the sacrificial lamb, giving Watina a safe switch and lay out Gyarados. Alakazam is the Pokemon I was really worried about, as I didn't have a direct answer for it. Watina knows Thief, but I knew it wouldn't do much thanks to my bout with Sabrina. So I get Watina to set up Light Screen before going down. With Paige being my strongest Pokemon, I figured that would be my best chance of getting past this thing. With a Light Screen up, damage from Psychic is greatly reduced, and a single Flame Wheel takes it out. Last out is Arcanine. Sadly, I am out of PP for all of Paige's other moves. With little choice, I soften it up with Flame Wheel, hoping to weaken it enough that Subarashi can come out and finish the job. I am able to get 3 attacks in before going down, taking it to a little over half health. I knew Subarashi would be able to tank at least one Extreme Speed, as long as it didn't crit. It thankfully doesn't, and Subarashi finishes off Blue's last Pokemon, and now we have claimed the Earth Badge. Now, before we head to Mount Silver, I thought I'd tell you an exploit, I suppose is the best thing to call it. To make this challenge a bit easier, you can actually go back, rematch Elite Four, and if you beat them, much like you did the first time, You'll return to New Bark Town after the credits roll with your PP and health restored. You can then repeat this process over and over again until you feel like you're strong enough to take on Red. But since I feel like this is a huge exploit, not to mention you're kind of going out of your way for a free heal, which is kind of against the rules now that I think about it. Instead, I am going to grind as much as I possibly can, force feed my Pokemon vitamins, and hope for the best. Here goes nothing. By the way, do you know how weak Pikachu is? Pikachu is so weak that Mary, the Marowak, who is literally half the level of Red's Pikachu, does about a third damage with Earthquake after being charmed. No doubt, a crit would have one-shot it. And Quick Attack barely scratches Mary. After Red tries to heal his Pikachu a couple of times, Pikachu eventually goes down. Red sends out Venusaur next. I knew the only attacking moves it knew were Grass type, so I swap in Paige to take the attack. Sadly, it goes for its strongest attack, Solar Beam. The good news is, it did less damage than I thought it would. Well, I almost take it out, but a second Flamethrower does the trick. Third out is Espeon, and this is the Pokemon I was really worried about. I have an answer for every one of Red's Pokemon, except for this one, and I knew Psychic would hit hard, but Paige knows a move that I knew could help us avoid an attack. Mud Slap. It is very much a chance-reliant strategy, but I knew at my Pokemon's current level, and Espeon's high special attack stat, that I wasn't going to outpower it. And now my Pokemon are super bulky on the special side. Espeon could easily wipe my entire team if I give it the chance. It does set up a Reflect on its first turn, but dealing damage at this point isn't my goal. And so far, my luck is holding up as Mud Slap lowers Espeon's accuracy to Stormtrooper levels. Eventually, Red gets Espeon to start using Swift, an attack that passes the accuracy check. I didn't want to risk losing Paige at this point, so I switch in Subarashi. Time to live up to your name. Upon switch in, it decided to go for Psychic, but thankfully missed. The misses keep on coming as I slowly chomp away at Espeon. By some miracle, I managed to take out Espeon without getting obliterated by Psychic. Now Snorlax is out. I knew I had to switch in Muscle, but I wanted a clean switch, so I switched in Kenya to take a hit. But Snorlax goes for Amnesia instead, but it only buys Kenya an extra turn before it predictably goes down. But at least it got a parting shot in, softening up a little bit for Muscle, I guess? Cross Chop hits Snorlax, taking it to a little under half health. Red enters back with Body Slam, and I say a quick prayer to Lord Arceus that I can tank it and not get paralyzed. And thank Lord Arceus, Muscle lives it. Our health is low, but we land another Cross Chop, finishing off Snorlax. Not surprising at all, Red sends out Charizard. Muscle did what I need him to do in this battle. I let Charizard faint her. You did well. I send out Subarashi. Even with the level gap, I figured with all the vitamins I force-fed him, that I could at least get one attack in. Sadly, vitamins do not save us from crits, and Subarashi goes down after a wing attack that crits. I guess this is the counter of the good luck I had with Espeon. I didn't want to risk sending out Watina, as the new Blastoise was still in the back, so Paige is in for another round. To my surprise, we are faster than Charizard. As long as you don't get crit again, I felt confident Paige could take him out. I go for Thunder Punch, which does about a third of Charizard's health, as Charizard fires back with Fire Spin? Okay then. After my second Thunder Punch, Charizard uses Wing Attack, and I live that and the chip damage from Fire Spin with only 10 HP. Barely standing, Paige finishes off Charizard. Somehow, we managed to beat 5 of Red's Pokemon. The only thing standing in my way is Blastoise. I knew Paige wouldn't be able to one-shot Blastoise, even if we crit. Paige gets one last Thunder Punch in before drowning via Surf. I am down to 2 Pokemon, but I knew Watina was my only chance of winning this. If she goes down, it is GG. I send her out and bank on Thunderbolt finishing it off. Sadly, Blastoise hang on by the skin of its teeth and goes for Rain Dance. If Red had decided to attack, there's a good chance he would have washed me away, but this mistake costs Red the battle. and one more Thunderbolt finishes Blastoise off. And with that, I have officially beaten Pokemon Crystal without catching any Pokemon, despite being a Pokeball expert, and without healing at Pokemon Centers. The amount of playing ahead I did for this challenge is ridiculous. But what's worse, even with all the planning I did, there was still a good amount of luck involved in the final battle. Everything had to play a certain way, especially with Espeon. If Mudslap didn't do its job, I would have easily been wiped. But if someone in the comments wants to try this challenge, prep well and prepare for some gray hairs along the way. If there's anything you think I could have done differently to make this challenge go a little smoother, let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoy this challenge and want to see more like this, please like and subscribe. And with that being said, I will see you all very soon, hopefully. Goodbye.